Good afternoon. And welcome to everyone who is joining us on the internet. I would like a show of hands. Have any of you ever found studying or reading the Course depressing?
Does frustrating count?
Frustrating is a distress. Well, let me say this right now. That isn't supposed to be, that isn't intended to be the result. But it is understandable that that reaction occurs because as you read, it appears that you are being taught that you are all insane to one degree or another. And the nature of your insanity is picked apart piece by piece and illuminated to you. And what I want to address right now is that to have mistakes that you're making uncovered to you is not a process by which you become convicted of wrongdoing, although the ego will use it that way. The mutually agreed upon definitions that you have evolved and the agreement that you have amongst each other is all called into question by the Course. The reason being that these agreements have been arrived at on a false basis. And if no one tells you this, you're stuck. If someone tells you this, it doesn't mean you're convicted. It means that you have the information necessary in order to do something different, in order to get unstuck. And so, the purpose of the Course is to inspire you, not convict you and depress you. I notice, however, and I'm not addressing this specifically to those of you in this room, but I notice, however, that many students of the Course pick up on the apparent fault finding that seems to be part of the Course, and they go on internal witch hunts within themselves, and they go on external witch hunts exploring the faults of others, uncovering the faults of others. And they call this love because they think this is what the Course is about. We've been going through the Course for over a year now. And I think that if you will look back, you'll find that I have been pointing your eyes and your attention in the direction of acknowledging God where you haven't been looking for God. Right in the petals of the flower, in the glass on the table, the trees outside, and each other. I have been doing everything I can to inspire curiosity an openness of mind. That which does not call into play self-defense. Because it has your attention turned toward something other than yourself, other than your current sense of yourself. Oh, in the last 2 weeks, we've talked about the non-materiality of matter. The fact that everything that you see and can touch is pure spirit and is idea rather than a physical object. That the energy of spirit that constitutes your body is not a physical energy. It is pure idea. Now, how many of you have become curious about the capability that you each have to move this idea from one place to another instantaneously, because there is no mass of matter to have to move by means of laws of physics? In other words, teleportation, or even levitation, or walking through a wall. And of course, we have ongoingly talked about the fact that healing can be instantaneous because there is no physical mass of matter that has to reconfigure while being obedient to the laws of matter, or what you could call the laws of physics. And so how many of you have been being curious enough to explore the healing of a mole or a wrinkle or a disease that you seem to have, and to persist with it? You see, the point is to be inspired to not become obsessed with the way things appear to you. The presence of a mole that is not attractive, does not express the beauty and symmetry of your perfect body. The desire to see God right there, where your body is, where this idea is, that is perfectly visible and tangible to mind without having any material accompaniments to it at all. I promise you that as you begin to be curious to see beyond the definitions you've currently given everything, you will find the intent raising objections in you. In other words, whatever resistances you have to healing or levitating or teleporting will present themselves to you. And then you can address them. You don't have to go on a witch hunt to find all your flaws before you can turn toward God. The point is to turn toward God first. And then whatever openness you have to seeing more of the presence of God where you are will in itself uncover to you the reasons you don't think it can happen. You will find yourself saying, well, let's say that I actually succeeded in teleporting to the base of the Eiffel Tower. I might be so excited by the experience that I couldn't possibly have enough peace to get back. And what would I do then in France without a passport? You see, you will find resistances presenting themselves to you. And those are the ones for you to release. Those are the ones for you to ask the Father or your guide, how do I look at this? Reinterpret this for me, so that I may either see the truth of it or the lie of it and let it go. In other words, start pushing the boundaries. Start pushing your boundaries. Start letting your mind move outside the box instead of being obsessed with the current status quo. We've been discussing the fact that the human condition, with all of its suffering and misery and depression and so on, is a result of one thing only: the attempt to be autonomous, the attempt to be an independent authorizer, the attempt to see and think about everything while leaving God out of the picture, and to determine what everything is for yourself. Obviously, the solution to that problem is not going to come through further self-examination. The solution is going to come from reaching outside, inviting something else in, a simple thing that we've been talking about all along. And so I encourage you, especially over this next 2-week period in which there is a holiday set aside for what? Gratitude. Use these 2 weeks to push the boundaries, to desire, to experience what is beyond what you're currently experiencing, but which, if I'm telling you the truth, is present for you to experience. That every flower, every tree, every object you see, every paper cup, every CD, every object you see is an idea. And even though it's tangible and perceptible to you, it is still pure idea. It is still pure energy and has no material accompaniments, no physical mass that must abide by physical laws of physics. Everything you see is capable of responding to and reflecting the mind of God without being bound by anything other than the Father's intent. And that is why, as you abandon a sick sense of yourself, a diseased sense of yourself, there can be instantaneous reconfiguration. And that's why when there is a shift of your attention from one location to another, there can be immediate movement to the new location without the use of an airplane or any other physical means of travel. what holds you in the human condition is your fascination with and your commitment to the attempt to be an independent authorizer. An independent, I'm going to say visionary, where you can make up the vision that you want to see and then see it and thereby cause it to be real, separate and apart from creation itself as the Father is being it. So let's read, and let's find out about redefining or retranslating obsession, preoccupation, undying commitment to your personal goals, undying commitment to your personal goals that keeps you from experiencing life fully, wholly, divinely, satisfyingly, and joyfully. Again, I will be reading from the transcript as prepared by Bill Thetford. And this section is entitled The Eternal Fixation. The idea of, quote, set, S-E-T, unquote, is among the better psychological concepts. Actually, it is used quite frequently in the Bible, and also in this course under many different terms. For example, quote, God will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed or set on him. A statement which means that God's peace is set in the Holy Spirit because it is fixed on God. It is also fixed in you. You then are fixed in the peace of God. The concept of fixation is also a very helpful one, which Freud understood perfectly. Unfortunately, he lost his understanding because he was afraid. And as you know all too well, fear is incompatible with good judgment. Fear distorts thinking, and therefore disorders thought. Freud's system of thought was extremely ingenious because Freud was extremely ingenious. And a mind must endow its thoughts with its own attributes. This is its inherent strength, although it may misuse its power. Freud lost much of the potential value of his thought system because he did not include himself in it. This is a dissociated state because the thinker cuts himself off from his thoughts. Freud's thought was so conflicted that he could not have retained his sanity as he saw it without dissociation. That is why the many contradictions, which are quite apparent in his thinking, became increasingly less apparent to him. A man who knows what fixation really means and yet does not yield to it is terribly afraid. Now listen to this. Fixation is the pull of God, on whom your mind is fixed, because of the Holy Spirit's irrevocable set. Remember, the Holy Spirit is nothing more than your right mind. Your right mind is forever fixed on God. Devoted, committed, and truly incapable of having any other focus of attention. As I've made clear to you, you can imagine that you can give your attention elsewhere, and then you can believe your imagination, and then you can make commitment to your imagination and become so involved with it that you forget what your only true capacity to make commitment involves, which is glorifying God, recognizing God in every single thing, recognizing what is real in every single thing, rather than what you have determined it to be. Continuing, irrevocable means, quote, cannot be called back or redirected, unquote. The irrevocable nature of the Holy Spirit's set, or you could say fixation, is the basis for His unequivocal voice. The Holy Spirit never changes His mind. Clarity of thought cannot occur under conditions of vacillation. So what does that mean? That means that this place of excellence in you, the presence of the Holy Spirit, that is your right mind, is actually incapable of vacillation. Your essential being is utterly stable right now. Utterly clear right now. Utterly intelligent right now. Completely at peace right now. And it never varies. You in your right mind are never in a state of variance, unevenness, disturbance, distress. Right now. What keeps you from experiencing it? The fact that in your attempt to look at everything through your own imagination and arriving at agreed upon definitions with each other, you take this divine nature of yours to be fixated, to be unvaryingly committed to God, and you apply it to what you want to give your attention to. This divine one that you are uses its capacity to be unswervingly clear and focused on the truth. You take it and apply it to what you are choosing to believe, the definitions you are choosing to give to everything. And you become obsessed with that activity. You become inappropriately fixated. But the fixation arises out of your divine capacity to be fixated on God, which is your function. Continuing, unless a mind is fixed in its purpose, it is not clear. Clarity literally means the state of light, and enlightenment is understanding. Enlightenment stands under perception because you have denied it as the real foundation of thought. And this is the basis for all delusional systems. Enlightenment doesn't really stand under perception. But that's the definition you've given to it, and so it seems to be so for you. Continuing, the concept of fixation, as Freud saw it, has a number of learning advantages. First, it recognizes that man can be fixated at a point in development which does not accord with a point in time. You've all at one time or another heard someone say, yes, he or she is 17 going on 34, or 34 going on 18, meaning that someone their development has been arrested, you might say, at 18 years old, even though they're older. They've become fixated at a point of development that has nothing to do with their actual years. You can all become fixated in your growth. Continuing, in fact, repeating, first, it recognizes that man can be fixated at a point in development which does not accord with a point in time. This clearly could have been a means toward real release from the time belief had Freud pursued it with an open mind. Freud, however, suffered all his life from refusal to allow eternity to dawn upon his mind and enlighten it truly. As a result, he overlooked now entirely and merely saw the continuity of past and future. Second, although Freud misinterpreted what the Holy Spirit told him, or better, reminded him of, he was too honest to deny more than was necessary to keep his fear in intolerable bounds, as he perceived the situation. Therefore, he emphasized that the point in development at which the mind is fixated is more real to itself than the external reality with which it disagrees. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
It's what we've been talking about. Your definitions that you give to everything and the mutual agreements that you come to about those things means that you are giving greater importance to your definition than to what the thing really is. And you are becoming fixated on your definition. Again, therefore, he emphasized that the point in development at which the mind is fixated is more real to itself than the external reality with which it disagrees. This again could have been a powerful release mechanism had Freud not decided to involve it in a strong defense system because he perceived it as an attack. I come along and I share with you A Course in Miracles, and I talk with you, and I uncover flaws in your thinking. I uncover illusions that you are entertaining that you thought were real. And I say, there is something more here than what you're seeing. You have bound yourself to a limited perception. And it's time for you